Welcome to Code Ransom, powered by Kasha, and I'm your host, Kasha, and this is Kode Ransom.
What's going on?
Yeah, so we're doing something new, something fresh. We're bringing it to Tulsa, and we're excited to have you guys along the journey with us. So, Kode, tell them a little bit about the podcast and what it'll be in.
Okay, so really what the podcast is about is kind of combining pop culture, comedy, but with history. So one of the things that I've noticed just being a historian in Greenwood, but also like as I dig deeper into Black history and just world history, Black people, we very rarely take it in, and partially because of the way it's written or the way it's told. So, you know, in Africa, we have what's called griots. So griots are storytellers. Like, if you weave it and you tell the story the right way, it works. And so, like, my goal and my purpose is really to bring comedy and use levity to kind of teach things. But so sometimes it's gonna seem like, okay, he playing. And some of it is, you know, but I try to mix a little bit of candy with the medicine and give it to people in that way. But then also bringing people on that, number one, people that I admire and that, you know, I look up to just as a Black man, but then also bringing people on to pick their brains. And I believe our purpose is to learn as many perspectives as we can, whether I agree or disagree. And so sometimes I will play around, and it's not because I disagree with you or anything like that. It's really, I just want to make sure you believe it before you give it to me. So I'm a poke and pride.
As you should.
And so, yeah, that's kind of my role. So as far as with the podcast, what do you see your role as being?
My role, honestly, I'm with the vibes. I'm wherever the vibes take me. Like you said, like, I feel like we love history. That's how we bonded. That's how we met. And just like the love of history is what carries us. But not only that, just knowing our role as far as like merging history in what today's, you know, just living today. And so that looks different, especially since a lot of people don't truly know their history, especially in our community, because one, it wasn't taught, two, they didn't have the resources or the opportunity to learn about their history, or they just didn't know. But fortunately, I was able to tap into my history, and I just fell in love. I just fell in love with just not my history, but just history in general. And they always say that if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And so I'm starting to see some events, you know, spin the block. And I'm like, well, that's it. Yeah. We're repeating a lot of things because we don't know our history. And so to be able to tap in is truly a blessing, but also to be here with you, because you're such a legend within itself. And I'm just happy to just be a part of it with you. Like, that's major for me. And I'm just, if y'all don't know who Kode is a legend. He's musically inclined. He literally is a walking historian. Being here in Oklahoma, I learned that with Native Americans and Native tribes that they have history keepers. And I honestly believe Kode is one of those history keepers in the most sense, because he literally knows not only Tulsa history, but Oklahoma history. And he hosts tours, and you'll be able to check him out. Come on down to Black Wall Street, Greenwood District, and take a tour by him, because I promise y'all, you won't be disappointed. You can find him at the Black Wall Street Liquid Lounge. That's a plug in.
Yeah, that's the plug. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I never really looked at it that way until I say people like you, Papa Eden, Tony, Aaron, out behind the scenes, but like people who see more in me than I do, you know, or they see a gift and they push me to walk in that light, knowing that I'm capable of doing it, you know. So I'm one of those people that, even knowing history, I would walk in some rooms and feel like I was smaller, I was inadequate, because I may not have had the resources, but I had the knowledge of knowing what was going on. But it also helped me being like I said, a former hothead, like I say, not former, recovering, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have my moments, you know what I mean? But like being able to see, like, the more I learn, the less angry I get. Like, I understand why things are happening the way they are.
Right.
And it took me like putting it in the music form or putting it in the stories. When I tell Black Wall Street history, I had a lady ask me one time, like, why do you joke? Like, this ain't the time to be playing. And I was like, then when can I play? Because life is so serious all the time.
Yeah.
And history is so serious that if I don't play, this is gonna come off as anger, and you're gonna get less, really less meat and potatoes of it. So being able to, number one, do that, but you the queen of content. Like since I've met you here, like I'd already seen melanin vibes everywhere. But once I knew you, it was like, okay, I see exactly what she's doing, And so I think that balance works. And then also us not coming in here on okay, well, look, this is my podcast and you just gonna be there. Or this is just your podcast and I'm gonna be there. It's like literally 50-50. And I want, whether I'm the one being here hosting, you're here hosting, or it's both of us. It's showing that Black men and Black women can work together, and it doesn't always have to be like one of us trying to get an upper hand on somebody else. But then also, as a historian, I've taught you things, but just as a human, you've taught me others. So at times that I felt like, I probably don't know how to do that, or I don't need to be, that ain't my realm, that ain't my pocket. Having people around you that not only push you to do it, but equip you with the tools to be able to do it is pretty dope. And then I joke a lot, and so I don't think I offended you yet. So I gotta work harder. But I'm just playing. But it's just being as somebody who plays a lot, like you get to see, do people really see your heart, or do they just hear words? So
yeah, that's important.
And so this, even just this little beautiful setup, just your eye, like you and Amber, y'all.
Y'all plug in Amber, because she definitely did her big one on the cassette,
Amber
on the VHS.
Killed it, you know what I mean? And so like, I've been to Melanin Vibes and Noir dinner parties, and like being around, it let me know that, like I always tell you in this podcast, you're gonna hear it a lot, but I put people in 3 categories, one of 3 categories. The people I love end up in multiple, but you'll either be someone I build with, build for, or learn from. Right. So you're a person that I've actually gotten all 3 out of, but to explain it a little bit better.
Yeah, because people may not know. Yeah. And it's definitely something that I had to kind of grow in, because I was just grouping people in. It's like, I've always had this mentality of categorizing people and putting people in their places. But sometimes we just write people off. So I'm definitely excited for them to even learn your approach in navigating relationships.
Yeah, so like knowing that people I build with are people that I don't necessarily have access to, but I can see a need and I can build something for them. I have capabilities to do that. People I build with are people that I'm like, nah, that's family. Like, I don't see ego ever being an issue there, and we can come and coexist and build something that's gonna help people, but help ourselves. And then people I learn from, these are people that sometimes I don't particularly like them. And instead of me saying like, oh, I don't like such and such, I really want to know, like, why am I uncomfortable around you? What is it that I don't like? How to, can I function in this room with you? And then how can I move you from somebody I'm just learning from to somebody I'm building with or building for? Right. So knowing that everybody has a value, and being able to help identify what that value is, I've watched people do it over and over. And I always wish I had that superpower to shake hands with somebody I couldn't stand. And so that philosophy has helped me get to where I'm like,
it's tough.
And I can tell you, like, hey, bro, like, we'll never be family, you know what I mean? But we are tribe, and I can't write you off for that, you know what I mean? And for as long as you're a part of the tribe, like, you got a job, I got a job. Sometimes they're gonna coexist. And if you can't get past that, ain't nothing I can do about that. But on my end, I'm willing to do the work, you know? So that's the philosophy I kind of adopted, and it's helped, you know what I mean? Yeah. To where when outsiders come in, I'm kind of trying to figure out like which pocket,
There's a lot of them coming in.
Listen.
But in a good way though, in a good way.
Some of them in a good way, most of them in a good way.
I'll say all of it is in a good way, because Tulsa, in my opinion, Tulsa has a spotlight on it. Like, we're literally in the middle of the U.S. If you know Oklahoma is in the middle of the U.S. And for a lot of people, when I, talk to them and engage in their stories, they all said that God sent them here. Yeah. Whatever reason, whatever season, God sent them here and placed them here. And I just believe that God has a spotlight on Tulsa. It's kind of like he said, hey, my people, my crew, meet me right there. Yeah. Meet me right there in the center of the U.S. I need y'all right there. Yeah. And like, it's amazing to see how many people actually was obedient and took up the call.
Yeah.
From creators, from people in ministry. And it all goes to show that, one, we still have servitude in our community. Yeah. We're not all trying to make $1. We're not all trying to, get over on somebody. You ain't gonna say all, but most of the times we're not. We're literally looking for opportunity to, hey, where can I plant? Because we all have those gifts. We all have like things that we're good at, and we're navigating through those. But I'm a firm believer in your gift will make room for you, period. So yeah.
On my mama, so just to give y'all a brief of what the podcast is about, what we're doing. And I'm a person that getting in front of a camera doing this type of stuff is not my pocket. Like, it's not what I do, but I also realize that I have to do it, and I have to do it because some of the history and things that I know and the perspective that I can give on them, it helps. I've been able to reach kids through, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of music or poetry or things like that. And it's always come back to me in ways where people like, dude, you can move a room. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of those people that if you leave me to my own, I'll go in the back of the room and just hide and then come up, say what I gotta say, get out the way.
But the room shift. And that's something that I'm learning. It's just like, naturally, automatically, I'm just gonna, fall back. Yeah. But just my personality, your personality. Yeah. We just can't be those people that just fall back. Like our essence, our aura, like we bring the vibes. Like we create the opportunities for people to connect, for people to engage, whether it's through storytelling, whether through content creation, whether it's through just like a conversation when they come into the Black Wall Street Liquid Lounge. Another plug. But no, just like even in your tours, like you give so much that people leave astonished. Like they don't know like all of that happened. They couldn't believe that they actually got to touch bricks from the massacre right here on Greenwood. Yeah. And so that's just, I just fell in love with Green. Like I just fell in love with just the people and then just to be on like fertile grounds, like the ground, the place where it all took place. Like it all happened here.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that though too, because, like you said, trying to incorporate content and art into teaching history. So I'll use that to kind of pivot to like when you see this shirt. Yeah. So it says established 1526. Black is crossed out. The number 5 is underneath that. Premium quality human, not for sale, not for trade. Mm-hmm. It's got all these lines going from the Americas to Africa. And then it's got origin. That's symbolic though. Yeah. What them lines mean. Yeah, so these lines are telling people that this is 1526 is the first time we were called black people. Mm-hmm. And this is during the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. Mm-hmm. And then these lines show you Africa is where everybody came from, West Africa, and they were sent to all these different countries. Mm-hmm. I also have it to where North America and South America could both fit into Africa. So when you look at maps, they make Africa seem small. But not. Showing people that the transatlantic slave trade didn't just send people to America. We actually brought less people to America than we did South America. Yeah. So the difference is South American enslaved people were able to keep remnants of their culture. So they still have some of the dancing and some of the traditions, but also slavery in South America was different than North America. Mm-hmm. They didn't have, I know it was actually against the rules to split a family. So you stayed with your family. Now you still worked hard. There was still some horrendous conditions, but you were with your people. And that ties into having griots and storytellers and history keepers because those people never left. Right. Versus America, North America, we had, I think, about 600,000 black people were shipped here. But we also had breeding farms where they started. It went from 600,000 people to 3-4 million. In that time, that was a chattel slavery. That was one of the worst conditions as far as slavery. And that's what we hear about, all of the horrific things that went on in slavery. Yeah. But before that, black people actually was already here, and they came here because it was voluntary. It was voluntary. And they paid their debt because it was servitude. It was servitude, indentured servitude. Yeah. And that's how they came here, and that's how they set up. But after they paid their dues, or after they paid their debts, they were free. And it was a lot of black people who actually made wealth
you know, in those times. But America got greedy and they wanted more. Yeah. And so that's where they created the chattel slavery.
Yeah, and so that's why, number one, that's why I made this shirt. So I only produced 1,526 of these. Mm-hmm. So on the back of it is a QR code, and it goes to a PDF that talks about what all of these things mean. So even in the podcast, there's a line through my name. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, I always crossed out my name. I never really knew why, but it was just a habit. Mm-hmm. But over time, I realized that part of the reason I crossed my name out is because the things that I do, they weren't necessarily for my last name. Mm-hmm. Like, my family weren't people that had the same last name as me. Yeah. It was the people who believe in building and believe in community like I do. So I had people with my name that didn't believe that, and then I had people without my name that did. So that was the purpose of building these shirts, but also, like, again, using pop culture to kind of educate on things like that. And then, of course, like my poetry, like all of these things were tied into doing that. So one of the dopest things that I saw when I saw Black Panther, for example, it reminded me, of course, of my African family, but it also reminded me that I was one of them kids that was in the middle. Like, I'm African, I have an African family, but then I'm American, and this is also where, like, my people built this country. So it's not just amazing things that Black people did in Africa, it's amazing things that they did here. And I joke about moving, you know, Black History Month from February to June, but the reason I say that is because that's more of Black culture. Mm-hmm. June is, like, it's the summer. You know, we can travel more, the kids are out of school. It's Juneteenth is already there. And we're warm weather people for the most part. And that gives us a month of freedom. Whereas cold, you know, winter is the season where things die. And spring is when they start to grow. Summer is when they flourish. Like, so it's like, that's the time period we need to be doing things, the celebrations that happen. I know the Global Citizens Festival or the African Return that happens in Ghana, it starts at the beginning of summer. Yeah. It just happens to be December there. But
they gonna just push it to year round now?
Yeah, they do it. You can do naming ceremonies and everything year round. But if you go to Ghana for Christmas, that's the beginning of summer. So it's lit. You know what I'm saying? It's the beginning of warm weather. Like, it's Africa waking up. And I think when you see a Juneteenth, when you see Black people in the street dancing, singing, laughing, playing around, joking, having a good time, we play basketball, we play football. Like, these are all things we can do during those warmer months. And so I've always wanted to use, like I said, pop culture. So when I got the Hollywood Music and Media Award, well, I got nominated for it. I ain't win. I forgot who won, but they should have let me win. But
I your Kanye West moment.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. George Bush don't like Black people. That was my moment. But it's like, what it also showed me was, like, number one, I didn't know poetry could do those things. And then one of my dogs, Taylor Hanson, I didn't really know who Taylor Hanson was until we was already cool. Yeah. And then even Taylor was like, bro, how do you not have a Grammy for the stuff that, like, these poems that you're doing? I'm like, well, bro,
I'm saying
the poems are literally just, it's like angry Black kid. I used to equate it to, if an angry Black kid sat down with Malcolm X and took a public speaking course, this is what it would sound like. It's like, I got all these thoughts and things that I really want to be upset about. But Malcolm X was one of those people, to me, that he controlled his anger so well in public speaking, especially when he was speaking to, like, non-Black people, and he was on these platforms where he knows, like, they poking at the bear. And he wouldn't raise his voice, wouldn't change his tone, was very matter of fact, but still polite, pleasant. And it was like, how do you deliver that? You know what I mean? Because if you are that angry Black person, you just turned off a big demographic of people. And should they be turned off? No. But can I control that? No. But if I can talk to you subtly and give you, just give you little tidbits and hints to where you go home and you think about it. Yeah. That's what Greenwood Tours are about. That's what this podcast is supposed to be about. And earlier, like, even in the development of it, like, I did have to get a pep talk, you know what I mean, from one of our producers that said, like, Don't hold back. You know what I'm saying? Like what you do in the coffee shop every day, like do that. And so it's hard because sometimes I'm like, is that a joking moment? But I also be really thinking like, you know what? I'm gonna probably be this way until about 3-4 days after my funeral. This is what I'm gonna be like. Like I'm gonna have a practical joke at my funeral. I know I am. Like
I feel like you gotta laugh because like the history that we know and like the history that we carry and like we're so passionate about, it's already heavy. And if you can't laugh and find like joy in the process, you're gonna burn yourself out. And that's how a lot of activists, that's how a lot of people in the movement get burnt out and you don't see them no more. It's heavy. Take your time, unplug, like relax, but find enjoyment. Like find what's gonna keep you going. And I feel like the coffee shop and seeing new people come in, especially with like so many people who come onto Greenwood, I feel like that's your enjoyment. Like you love connecting with people, learning, hey, what brought y'all here? Literally, what brought y'all here? The simplest question, but that brings you joy.
Yeah, it does, man. And it changes a lot. So number one, like I'm thankful for you pulling up, you know, and
I'm thankful for y'all. Be like, hey, thank you, open arms, because everybody ain't, you know, everybody don't get that. Everybody don't get that.
Nah, everybody ain't able, man. It's, but it tells you that tribe recognizes tribe. Like we know that, like, all right, you got the right heart. It's not about, you know, we can figure out what you do later, but like your heart is right, you know, and so, and two, I don't think I haven't met too many black people that love history. Like we like it.
No, I love it.
We don't love it. You know what I'm saying? So like somebody else to where I say something, you like, oh, well, I got a fact too. Like I'm like, oh dang, I ain't know nothing about that one. You know what I'm saying? Like she caught me slipping. You know, so like
history is my
that's a
jam.
great feeling to know. Like when I run into you, like I gotta be sharp. Like I gotta know, like she might throw me a fact that'll be like, ooh, like okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go home and have me a Kasha moment because I'm like, man, I'm about to learn me one because I got one in the cubby. If next time I see her,
keep one in the clip.
You know what I'm saying? Keep one in the clip. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope to be able to do. And then again, what I really want to be able to do with this podcast too is take these conversations that we have and create art. You know, from it, some of it will be in the form of clothing. Some of it will be poetry. I know the first thing I'm doing is kind of taking some of these conversations and I've actually never recorded my own studio album. I've written for other people. I've been on other people's albums. I've been doing music. Ooh, dang, I'm old. I've been doing music for like 23 years, and I've never done my own project.
Look him up on, what is it, Apple? What is it, what they call Apple Music?
Yeah, I'm on Apple
He's
Music.
on Apple Music.
Yeah.
Definitely plug in to some Tulsa artists, because y'all, I got a Tulsa playlist, and I ain't gonna lie. I'm from Memphis, and y'all already know Memphis on the map for the music. But Tulsa, I'm an R&B girly, and Tulsa got some good R&B, chill music, chill vibes that literally can compete with mainstream artists. And I ain't saying it because now I reside in Tulsa, but I'm saying it because I downloaded it on my phone, and I don't really, you know, I'm a content creator, and I ain't got too much storage. So for you to be on my phone, it's a big deal.
You lit. Yeah, and that's the dopest thing is I've been able to, again, like there's NDAs in certain areas, but I've been able to write for some amazing people, and then those same amazing people is like, bro, where your stuff, you know? And it just, like I said, it's all in the right time, and like in the past years when I got that, and you know, I'm working on a concept album, and this is gonna help me formulate those ideas and produce. So, you know, I'm looking forward to what it's gonna be, you know what I mean? And like I said, I like putting people's foot to the fire, you know, and bringing them in, and I want you to say the hard things, or if you scared to say them, like I say them. You know, I'm one of those people that I look at people like Charleston White, for example. Charleston White is hilarious to me, by the way, but he's one of those people that when I listen to Charleston White, I'm just kind of like, that's the true definition of medicine with the candy. Is sometimes I'm like, man, buddy, you off. But then I break down the point and I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? I got him. We needed it, you know? So being able to do that, but in a musical form, I record music right here in the coffee shop sometimes. Poetry, I do it right here in the coffee shop. Sometimes on tours, you know, especially if Guy is around. Like Guy will he do that thing like your mama and your granny do.
We gotta
like,
get Guy on here.
Do that little song you do.
We gotta get him on the podcast.
Oh yeah, Troop coming on here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Troop, yeah, because he's another one like his, you know, Miss Yvette always say like I'm like the Troop twin.
Yeah.
Like I'm the younger Troop.
Junior.
I'm the junior, you know what I mean? And it's even a person like him that welcomed me with open arms. Like I have not had the healthiest relationships with black men. So to have one like really put his arms around me and bring me in, and at no point have I felt exploited or just like, you know, ignored. Like he makes sure like, hey bro, I'm listening to you. I see what you know how to do.
And he look out. He looks out. And I know it's not just you. I know it's just not me. But he look like if you come into this coffee shop and say, I want to do this, he's going to send you in the right direction. And he's going to follow up. He's going to make sure like, hey, did you get what you needed? Yeah. Hey, did you get paid? Yeah. Hey, like he's one of those people. Now I really, really, truly admire him because the work that he's doing, not only in the athletic scene for Tulsa, but just like in the community. Him and his wife, Miss Yvette, like I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
True goats, man.
They really are.
So yeah, I think that the more we're able to just show the community in Tulsa, man, and Greenwood, but I didn't get into, now of course, one day I want to be really, really wealthy. I figured out how to do it. I'm going to be a stay-at-home husband. Hey! And you feel me? And what I'm going to do is, I got, you know what I'm saying? No fingerprint, no fingerprint. I'm going to go, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, Tony mentions Utica Square all the time. I think that's where I'm gonna go recruit.
Just sit on the bench.
You know what I'm talking about? And just go out there and show my gifts, and then you know somebody gonna be like, "Ooh, I want."
They might be scared first, but they're legit.
You feel me? You know what I'm saying? But some of the best teams come out of fear. So you know, I think I'll be able to pull it off. But once I'm rich and wealthy and all of that, I want to keep doing stuff like this. You know, I want people to come in here and when they sit here with us, they feel at home. Yeah. But at the same time, I want you to know if you ever come on the podcast, we gonna push you. Like I'm not one of those people that hide from like, oh, there's a negative moment there, or there's gonna be times when we talk about mistakes. Yeah. I actually never even wanted to talk about it, but like it resonated with me earlier when I was talking that I've never even really told the story of like my dad was killed by a cop. Wow. So it was like I was like 8-9 months old. So most people don't, like, I assume people, they get it, you know, but then when I really start looking at the numbers, it's like, nah, it's a very, you know what I mean, tight community of people who experience that. Yeah, that ain't normal. It also, like, it explains so much once I got older and I saw, like, that's why we act that way. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why, you know, I was real rebellious, you know what I'm saying, once I knew what was going on. Mm. And so my ultimate goal is to be able to heal Black people through culture and music and poetry and art. And then I suck at creating content because I'm so, like, in the moment, hands-on, doing this. You gotta know your zone of genius. Yeah, and when I get home, like, I'm like, dang, I could've, you know what I mean? I could have done that. And then I also want to redo the United Negro Fund because I don't know which Negroes was united. Oh, no. We're going to end it right here, y'all. We're going to end it right here. Y'all got to stay tuned for some more episodes of the podcast. Like I said, this is called Ransom, powered by Kasha. And thank you guys for tuning in. But don't miss out because we're bringing the vibes, we're bringing the history, we're bringing culture, all of that for music. And we got literally a musical genius here. So definitely come back. Don't let this be your last time tuning in because I promise y'all we got some guests that's coming through and it's going to be a vibe. So check us later. We out. Peace. And we going to talk about reparations and stuff.
Oh, okay. And we out. Peace.
All right.